The first off, the nominal GDP numbers, he has given those projections of a downward revision. In fact, already for the current year, also the growth forecast has been cut based on that. Going forward, do we see the government's fiscal roadmap for the next financial year getting tweaked accordingly? What is the signal as of now?
See, so far as the current year's GDP growth is concerned, the mid-year economic review has presented a very realistic picture. After the budget was presented, 2 or 3 developments have taken place which are beyond government's control. Number one, there was a drought for the second consecutive year. Now, this is something which cannot be anticipated. So it has had its impact on the agriculture and the rural sector, and also in creation of rural demand and private consumption in the rural and also in the urban and semi-urban sectors to some extent. Secondly, world growth, global trade volumes have also remaining stable. They have shrunk. And the world was hit by depreciation of currencies of various emerging economies. So the net impact of all this is that the growth, which we were earlier expecting to be slightly higher, we are now saying that it's about 7 to 7.5%. So it's a realistic picture. Now, going forward, also the report recognizes that there are problems, global issues, which are.
Okay, well, that feed is frozen, so it is coming in live. But any which way, that is the Shaktikanta Das talking about the mid-year economic review. But back to the markets, there's been a bit of a mild recovery which has taken place at this point in time. So the Nifty just about hovering at 7,800, in fact, possibly just about nearing those levels. We're still down around 150 points for the Sensex. Let's cut across back to Sapna, who is in conversation.
Policy. The gold schemes were also launched. SEBI has also modified some of the regulations relating to the capital markets. So going forward, the fiscal deficit, so far as current year is concerned, it will be kept at 3.9%. And so far as the future next year is concerned, it will be something which will be spelled out in the budget. At this stage, I cannot talk about what will be the fiscal deficit projection in the budget, but by and large, in the medium term, the government has a medium-term fiscal plan, and government will adhere to the overall MTFP, that is the medium-term fiscal plan.
So, quick question over here. It does say, that possibly the further tightening in terms of 0.4% of the GDP in terms of the fiscal number. I don't want to know what you're going to do in the budget. Of course, it's still some time away. Just a macro viewpoint, do you think that would be the right way to go in terms of keeping the demand alive? Because it also recognizes the fact that apart from the, lowering the lower nominal GDP numbers, it will impact your fiscal numbers directly. Apart from that, demand per se also, and something which you have just referred right now in your first answer, demand also is likely to be, not very robust next year. So under these circumstances, government expenditure, which have been doing pretty well in the current financial year, may need to continue. So on a macro view, you think that this sedation as of now makes sense?
You see, the nominal GDP growth is lower. That is because inflation levels are low. You see, there are always two sides to every story. Every success story also has its, difficult side. There are two sides of the coin. So when the economy, the real GDP growth is 7 and 7.5%. In the earlier years, inflation used to be very high. So therefore, the nominal GDP growth was higher. Right. And therefore, the fiscal deficit target as a percentage of the overall GDP was much higher. Right. Today, the inflation being low, naturally, the nominal GDP growth has come down significantly. So therefore, in absolute terms, the fiscal deficit number today, the percentage equivalent to the number, it poses certain challenges. And this is something which the government will deal with as a part of the next year's budget. I would not like to go into anything beyond, at this point of time, I would not like to say anything beyond that.
So one is the fiscal side of it. The other thing that the analysis also mentions is about that some kind of a reworking or a retweaking of monetary policy also may be required. Now, the US Fed has just started its, rate tightening plan, and 2016 may also see some further rate hikes. Under these circumstances, what do you think should be the call on the monetary policy front? I know RBI is the regulator and it's RBI's domain, but on a very broad basis, because the analysis at also some point in time says that the base rate right now is higher than a nominal GDP growth rate. So you think that there's a case actually for further softening, and that might be the call to be taken, keeping the demand factor in mind, not just what the US Fed is doing, and then how does it play out with what US Fed may do?
You see, the Reserve Bank is an autonomous entity. Monetary policy is in the domain of the Reserve Bank of India. But let me also mention that Finance Ministry and the Reserve Bank of India, we work in very close coordination. There is frequent interaction. And I think there is a meeting of minds and we are on the same page. Now, what will be the monetary policy tweaking or what monetary policy decision the Reserve Bank will take? That is their preserve, but that is their domain. But we are in regular touch, we are in regular interaction, and I am sure as the monetary authority, the RBI will factor in what the economy requires at the moment. And there are requirements to contain inflation. There are requirements to maintain growth. I am sure the Reserve Bank will find the right balance.
One more quick question, sir. What kind of further demand measures, may be announced? I mean, the budget is around the corner, so it's something that we can expect on the horizon that will keep the growth momentum going, the growth story going, or trying to, keep it at least at some point, at some particular levels.
You see, the new measures I can't spell out. It'll come, whatever new measures are there, they'll come in the budget. The Parliament is also in session. So as and when there are new measures, if any, we will come to know about it.
Right.
Thank you.
One more question, sir,
Yeah.
if I may. Also, in terms of the revenues, right now, you have the indirect tax story, which is supporting the revenue base, so to speak. But disinvestment, the targets will have to be kind of more realistic in the coming year. This year also, it will miss the target. So, would there be any other tax measures that the government would really think of? Like one such Bharat Cess we have already done this year, but there could be some further measures that it may be announced down the line. I'm not trying to outguess the budget exercise.
No, I cannot say whether there will be new tax measures again. I cannot really say that. But let me also say that disinvestment, you were saying that we'll miss the target. Yes, we'll miss the target. By how much we will know when the year ends, but we have our internal estimates. We are doing far better in non-tax revenues. So I would expect the non-tax revenue collections to exceed the budget. So we will get some plus, some additional resources from that. The overall expenditure numbers we are maintaining, whatever was projected in the budget, we are maintaining that. And a few other measures are under consideration. So overall, let me again stress, as I said earlier, is that this year's 3.9% will be maintained.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for giving time to us.
Okay, well, that's the word coming in. 3.9% fiscal target should be maintained for FY16. But on that note, we really have to